Hello friends, it's me, Shin, and today I'm coming to you from the Circa Las Vegas, where I'm going to Saginaw's Deli for the first time. Really happy to have you along. I'll see you inside. All right everyone, and here I am seated at Saginaw's. This is a 24-hour delicatessen here at the Circa Las Vegas, and I really like it in here. You have full booths, half booths, as well as tables for seating, and a lot of Jewish deli and fun, lively music, a very nice vibe. Now, regardless of the vibes, you know it's all about the food for me, so let's take a look at what they have to eat on the menu. Okie dokie, so here is your menu at Saginaw's. Starting with the sandwiches that are available 24/7. Here are your grilled sandwiches. Looks like you've got Reubens and turkey sandwiches, tuna melts, grilled cheese, and the like. We have not grilled sandwiches here as well. Looks like a corned beef and mustard, a lot of chicken salad, the brisket there, BLT. Yeah, this is all looking really good. A section of sides. Looks like we've got latkes cakes, garlic bread, chips, and potato salad, all looking really, really good. And some images of those sandwiches over here. And if we flip the menu over, looks like dinner is available from 4 p.m. to 6 a.m. I'm gonna see if I can get in on that. But we'll start off with the starters here first. Looks like these are their appetizers. You have shrimp cocktail, fried cheese, Reuben poppers. Oh, that sounds interesting. Chicken cigarillos. All right, okay, this looks really good. We also have some salads here on the side. A watermelon feta salad, wedge salad, Greek salad, all the good salads there. And we have some soup here also. A chicken noodle, chicken matzo ball. Yeah, looking really good. And so here are those dinner options as mentioned before. We have meatloaf, fried chicken, mac and cheese, steak dinners, lamb chops, trout. Yeah, it's all looking really nice. And a small section of desserts here as well. You got a brownie sundae, cinnamon roll, cheesecake, and the like. All looking really good. And that is your menu here at Saginaw's. Looks like a pretty solid lineup of Jewish deli foods here, and I'm looking forward to trying a lot of them today because you know how it goes in my videos. Every restaurant is a buffet if you're willing to pay. So I'm gonna get a nice variety together. We'll see what this place is all about. Appetizers are coming up first. I'll see you in a little bit when they arrive. And welcome back everyone. My appetizers just got here. This is looking really good. Let me give you a view. I got their onion tower as well as their fancy fried cheese sticks, their Reuben poppers, their loaded chips, as well as their chicken cigarillo. This is all looking really interesting. Let's give it a try. First up, Tuttle's loaded chips. These are house-made potato chips with what looks like some kind of a chili-like topping. Sour cream and tomatoes. This all looks really good. Let's give it a shot. Yeah, it's pretty good. Starting from the base, I actually really like these house-made chips. A light and airy crisp to them, with a nice forward-facing potato flavor. There's also a smoky seasoning blend on these chips, providing a nice additional flavor. Even on their own, the chips are actually quite good. Now, what I thought was a chili is a little bit more just like a very saucy brisket, a nice savory and tender brisket meat here, in addition with a little bit of a rich gravy here also. The tomatoes here provide a nice natural sweetness, and you definitely get some bite from the raw red onion here. Now there is an element here that's separate from the brisket that's actually very spicy. I can feel a bead or two of sweat forming on my brow. This is certainly a spicy dish. Very appropriate that there's some sour cream to help cool those flavors down. A satisfying dish here though, I do like that. Next up, this is the fancy fried cheese. Now as I was ordering this, I was told to specifically know that this was not like a mozzarella cheese stick. And now I'm even more curious to find out what this is like. Let's give it a taste. Yeah, you know, that's not bad. I can see why the server made sure to inform me that this is not like a standard mozzarella cheese stick because it is very different. Now this breading on the outside is actually quite crispy, a very satisfying texture to that. There's not a lot of breading on this, really allowing you to appreciate the flavors of the cheese. So here's the big elephant in the room. We need to talk about the flavor of this cheese. Very different from mozzarella, if that's what you're kind of thinking about. While it does have a very similar color, while it starts mild, you're hit with a relatively high level of salinity here, which then gives way to a bit of a more pungent aftertaste, a little bit sour and tangy. It's a very aromatic cheese. Now this dish is served on top of something like a yogurt sauce. It is very creamy and rich, with a slight hint of acid and a sour aftertaste. You get a little bit of nuttiness from the pine nuts here,
which is probably the flavor that helps ground this the most. It's not exactly a mozzarella stick, but it is still pretty tasty, not bad. Next up, this is the chicken cigarillo. Basically looking at something like a chicken cigar here, a very playful dish. Something like ash or cigarette smoke at one of the ends, and it is served with a dipping sauce. I kind of want to try it straight up first though. Let's see how it is. Yeah, you know what, not bad. You effectively have something like a buffalo chicken egg roll here, and it definitely has some tasty elements. I really like this pastry they use. It's incredibly crispy. A super thin pastry sheet like this is my preference when it comes to an egg roll. I'd say the chicken inside is pretty good. A nice standard buffalo flavor here, a little bit of spice and some tang, and a little bit of richness from some Monterey Jack cheese. There are some chopped up chilies in here, providing an additional kick. All of that's fine. I'll dip it into the accompanying sauce here, and we'll give this a try as well. Yeah, it's good. A pretty standard ranch dressing here, and it works the same way it would for a buffalo wing. Provides a rich, creamy cooling, which is quite nice on this chicken cigar. Especially after adding the ranch, I do think there could be a little bit of additional heat here. While the bites that had some of those chopped up chilies were nice, others were just a little bit more on the bland side. Amp that just a little bit more, make it a little more evenly distributed throughout, and I think you got a pretty solid appetizer here. That was a fun one though, I like that. Next up, we're going in on Dave's Reuben Poppers. This was the appetizer I was looking forward to the most when I saw the list. I'll dip it into some of the Russian dressing here. Let's see how it is. Oh, that's really tasty. This is exactly what I expected with a deep fried Reuben. A wonderful crispy exterior. I love the fry job they gave to this. Incredibly satisfying to bite into, really crispy texture. This is fun to eat. A nice amount of corned beef, Swiss cheese, and sauerkraut have been stuffed into this little popper, and all of the elements are really tasty. A salty and tender corned beef, with a nice mild richness from the Swiss cheese, with a little bit of that additional bitter sour coming from the sauerkraut, and a superbly rich and tangy Russian dressing here. That's awesome on these poppers. If this is a precursor of things to come in the rest of the meal, I'm actually really looking forward to the sandwiches, because this is a fantastic start with the Reuben popper. Big fan of that appetizer, I like that one a lot. All right, my friends, and the last appetizer I'm trying today are the onion rings. This is served with both the Russian dressing and ranch, and I'm definitely a ranch on onion rings kind of guy. Let's give it a shot. Oh, that's pretty good. Very obviously cut and hand battered in-house. I actually really do like these onion rings. Each one of these onion rings are pretty big, and some of these at the bottom are downright colossal. A nice crispy exterior, fantastic crunch biting into that, and a relatively well-seasoned batter here also. A bit of a faint sweetness here from the onions. I think that flavor could be a little bit more robust. Maybe the particular onion they use for my rings just wasn't as sweet. A creamy and rich tang from the ranch always helps with my onion rings. I like that just fine. All in all, just pretty satisfying. That was a nice onion ring there, I like that. All right, everyone, now that's all of the appetizers I'm trying here today. A few more bites, I'm gonna box this all up to go, and then we'll do our first round of entrees. Don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. And welcome back, everyone. My first round of entrees just got here, and I went with a lot of handhelds. Let me give you a view. This is their Mighty Meatball sandwich, as well as a grilled cheese, their pastrami with mustard, as well as their Derek's Favorite sandwich. I also got some coleslaw and garlic bread as a side, and this is all looking really good. Let's give it a try. First up, we'll try the Mighty Meatball sandwich. Two enormous meatballs are served inside of this hoagie roll. I went ahead and cut it in half so it could be a little bit more wieldy, and I'm looking forward to this bite. Let's give it a try. Oh, it's pretty good. A relatively soft bread roll here. A slightly crusty exterior with an incredibly soft center, also holding up to the weight of this meatball sub very well. And it does provide a very slight nutty flavor to the sandwich also. Very nice meatball in this sandwich. I really appreciate the ratio of meat to breadcrumbs in here. Not only has it been very well seasoned, but there's also a nice mix of herbs in here. A little bit of sage, thyme, and nice amounts of garlic also. This is certainly a flavorful meatball. I do think it is a tad on the dry side. It could use a little bit more moisture inside, but that's not too much of a detractor, as the tomato sauce is more than making up in that department. While typically I'm much more of a fan of cooked down tomatoes and a bit more of a savory and zesty sauce, given the salty and rich nature of this meatball, I actually am enjoying a little bit more of that sweeter sauce here. A nice mild richness from the mozzarella cheese brings the whole sandwich together. A solid little meatball sub here, I like that. Next up, let's go in on Derek's Favorite. This is roast beef and salami on rye, and it sounded pretty good. Let's see if it tastes good. And unfortunately, I can't say I'm a huge fan of this one. While there's a lot of elements going on in the sandwich, I don't taste a lot of them. We'll start with some of the good. There is a nice toast to this rye bread, a bit of that trademark pungent flavor, and this toast has been very well buttered. I appreciate the richness here. Now, the two primary proteins here are roast beef and salami. And unfortunately, this is where the majority of my issues lie. For one, I don't taste the salami at all in that bite. It's completely lost. If it wasn't present at all, it still wouldn't make much of a difference. Unfortunately, today's roast beef is quite dry and a tad on the chewy side. It's the most forward-facing flavor in the sandwich, but unfortunately, it is a tad bland. I did get a little bit of a natural sweetness in the aftertaste from the tomato, and a faint hint of something like honey mustard toward the end of the bite. The flavors are unfortunately very unbalanced for me, and the lack of moisture in the roast beef leaves a lot to be desired today. It might be Derek's favorite, but it's not Shin's favorite today. Next up, we're doing the pastrami sandwich. Now, this is a classic preparation, just pastrami mustard on rye. Although the rye bread here is much less buttered and toasted than I saw on Derek's favorite. But this is a sandwich you absolutely must nail if you're a Jewish deli. Let's see how it is here at Saginaw's. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now start with the bread here. It's the same rye bread from Derek's sandwich, and oddly there's less butter here, but much more flavor. You definitely get a little bit more of that licorice-like element here. I guess the flavor of the roast beef really hid that on the other sandwich as well. Now the pastrami isn't bad, but for sure I've had better. It is relatively tender, not too chewy, and a nice meaty quality biting into it. The spice blend is pretty traditional, however I think they went a bit overboard on the coriander. That warm nuttiness is a little bit overpowering here. The yellow mustard here is standard and doing its job fine. A pretty solid pastrami sandwich here. I think if the spice blends were a little bit more even, I would like this a lot better. All right, my friends, and the last sandwich I'm trying today is going to be the grilled cheese. You know, I feel like I haven't just had a grilled cheese on its own in a long time. And so looking over the menu, I thought a delicatessen like this would be a nice place to break that streak. The grilled cheese. Yeah, that was good. Now, I thought they were going to use a rye bread here as well. However, it is wheat bread here. And there's a nice earthy, nutty flavor from that. It's been well buttered and toasted. A good grilled cheese has to have good bread, and this is solid. Now, they're using a multi-cheese blend here. It definitely tastes cheddar and something a little bit more pungent like a Gouda. But there was another cheese I couldn't quite put my finger on, and looking this up on the menu, it actually looks like it's a Munster cheese. There's definitely a little bit more of that pungent richness here than a standard cheese sandwich, and the Munster cheese is definitely here to thank for that. I'm a fan of the grilled cheese. This is good. Okie dokie, let's do some sides next. This is the coleslaw. I'm sure you've seen that all the sandwich here is served alongside their chips, but I already tried that earlier with the appetizers, so I'm going to try a nice little fork full of coleslaw here. Let's see how it is. You know, I think I've got some mixed feelings on this one. First, I'll start with the positives. The cabbage here is certainly fresh, a nice crisp to that, and a natural sweetness coming from the carrots. Unfortunately, I can't say I'm a huge fan of the coleslaw dressing here. Firstly, it's lacking a certain richness. A bit on the dry side, I can certainly appreciate a little bit more of a creamy nature, maybe some more mayonnaise, but that could just be a personal preference. The seasoning for the dressing, though, is currently where my biggest opposition lies, because there's a very nutty, pungent spice here, kind of like they added a lot of cumin or curry, maybe some caraway here. It's a bit overpowering, I'm not a big fan of it. But if you do enjoy coleslaws that are a little bit less rich and a little bit more pungent, I think you're gonna like this one. All right, my friends, now the last bite I'm trying from this first round of entrees is gonna be the garlic bread. I always enjoy a good garlic bread, and so when I saw this on this list of sides, I knew I had to try it. Let's see how it is. Oh, it's very good. Big fan of this garlic bread. First off, they're using a thick cut challah bread, and it is wonderful. Superbly crusty on the outside with an airy center. Just the challah bread on its own is quite good. Absolutely slathered in a very tasty garlic butter. Gives it a lot of richness and a floral garlic note. Some of the garlic has even gotten a bit of an extra cook, providing a nutty flavor here. And you have a little bit of parsley for some color, though I can't say I make out the taste. Challah bread this good, covered with garlic and butter, is probably always going to be fine. And I really like the garlic bread here. That's good. All right, my friends, now that's all of the food I'm trying from this first round. A few more bites. I'm going to box this all up for takeaway, and then we'll do our second round. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. And welcome back, my friends. My second round of entrees just got here, and these are the dinner options. Let me give you a view. I got some shrimp scampi as well as their lasagna, an order of meatloaf, chicken pot pie, and a side order of their latkes potato cakes. This is all looking really good. Let's go in. First off, the shrimp scampi. Looks like angel hair pasta here for their shrimp scampi. Certainly a dish I really enjoy. Here's the shrimp scampi. You know, I'd say this is just okay. It's not the worst scampi I've ever had, but it's certainly not the best. Starting with the angel hair noodles, they're definitely past al dente. I would prefer a much more firm noodle here. These are far too soft. I think they're just a handful of minutes away from being mushy. Now the shrimp themselves are pretty good. Plump and succulent with a nice sweet flavor, cleanly deveined. That's actually quite good. I think my biggest issue lies with this scampi sauce. Unfortunately, it's not that well balanced. While there's a fair amount of richness here from the butter, it's almost completely neutralized by the amount of lemon juice they've added to this. In general, the sauce is far too sour and acidic. While I can tell there's garlic in the recipe, a lot of it is drowned out by that lemon. It's a bit unfortunate. The ratio of ingredients here leave a lot to be desired. Not my favorite shrimp scampi, unfortunately. Next up, the meatloaf. Now, I discovered meatloaf much later in life. My traditional Korean mother did not have this in her recipe repertoire, and I've really come to love a good meatloaf. And hopefully the one here at Saginaw's is good. Here's the meatloaf. Oh, that is really good. A fantastic texture here. A perfect ratio of meat to breading. So satisfying biting into this. A nice soft meatloaf with a bit of a developed crust. I love the texture here. Incredibly savory and very well seasoned, with a nice earthy flavor coming through from the root vegetables. A very well balanced meatloaf recipe. A ketchup-based sauce on the top of this meatloaf has caramelized during the bake into providing a nutty sweet flavor. It's very good. Complemented by the thick, rich, and savory gravy here. It all comes together well for a very enjoyable bite. Big fan of the meatloaf today. It's really good. Now the meatloaf comes with two sides, mashed potatoes as well as green beans. Here are the mashed potatoes. Yeah, not bad. A fairly rustic mashed potato recipe here. Some potato skin as well as chunks of potato provide a little bit of texture variation. That's all good. A nice potato starchy flavor here also. That's all fine. Unfortunately, the mashed potatoes are a tad under-seasoned, especially given the robust flavor of this meatloaf. I'd certainly appreciate a little bit more there. That said, it's not like it's super bland or anything, just not optimal. A perfectly passable mashed potato here though. And the other side to come along with that meatloaf is the green beans. Let's give these a try as well. Okay, those are very good. Excellent green bean side here. A little bit of a crisp in the bite, but still absolutely fork tender. This is a perfect cook. While you do get the natural bitter flavors of that green bean, these vegetables are completely smothered in a garlic butter, providing a lot of flavor. Nicely seasoned also with an emphasis on black pepper, providing a little bit of an additional kick. This is a very delicious, albeit likely unhealthy green bean side. It goes really well with the meatloaf. I like those green beans a lot. Next up, I'm doing the lasagna. Now, originally I had ordered the pot roast. Unfortunately, they were out today, and so I substituted in this lasagna, and hopefully it's really good. Here's the lasagna at Saginaw's. Yeah, you know, I'd say that's just okay. Now, starting with the positives, they do have a nice lasagna noodle here. Certainly past al dente, but still relatively firm. And the structure of the lasagna is holding together, so no real issues here. There is a creamy richness coming from the ricotta cheese. A bit of a floral note in there as well from the basil. The beef and pork sausage in here is just okay. While you do get a bit of a meaty quality from it, it's not all that savory, and the flavors are not making itself well known in the bite. In this particular form, it's mostly here just for texture. Now, this is the same tomato sauce that we saw earlier on the meatball sub. However, with the ultra savory nature of that meatball more than made up for the sweetness of the sauce, unfortunately that is not the case here in the lasagna. The flavors of the Italian sausage are in no way able to compete with the sweetness of the sauce, and so in general the overall flavor profile leans very sweet. Definitely not my type of lasagna. I certainly prefer a much more zesty and savory tomato sauce, and so in my book this lasagna is just okay. Either amp up the flavors of the sausage much more or cook down that sauce a little bit more and add some more savory elements, and I think I'd like this lasagna a lot better. Okie doke, last entree I'm trying today is gonna be the chicken pot pie. I'm a huge fan of chicken pot pie. When I saw it on the menu, I knew I had to try it here. Got a nice amount on the fork. Here's the chicken pot pie. Okay, that is so good. I'm absolutely in love with this chicken pot pie. First off, let's talk about this pastry crust. Wonderfully buttery, with a crispy exterior and a rich and flaky center. A slightly nutty flavor from the Maillard reaction in the bake. A wonderful pie crust on this chicken pot pie. The filling here is so flavorful. Ultra tender chicken acts as the base. It's juicy and moist, super well seasoned with a lot of great flavor. It's very good. Green beans, potatoes, and carrots, all very soft, lending their natural flavors to the bite. It's very good. Now, I actually love how the gravy inside isn't just a puddle, but more of a coating on all of the ingredients. The gravy works so well with the chicken. Not only is it incredibly savory, but they really emphasize the black pepper here, providing a kick to the recipe and bite. Really heartwarming and satisfying to eat. I am really enjoying the chicken pot pie, you guys. This is good. Now, the chicken pot pie is served alongside a side salad. Let's see how this is. Yeah, it's pretty good. A pretty standard side salad here. Spinach and spring mix along with some cherry tomatoes, all tossed in a vinaigrette. It's fresh, rich, and tasty. The oregano in the vinaigrette is a little bit heavy-handed, but not too much of a detractor here. Not bad at all. A nice little side for the pot pie. All right, everyone, and the last bite I'm trying from the entrees today is going to be their lactase potato cake. I've added some sour cream as well as their cinnamon apple topping. Certainly looking forward to this. Let's give it a shot. Oh yes, that's good. A nice and tasty potato cake side here. Now, the last time I tried one of these potato cakes on camera, I was absolutely roasted in the comment section for not adding some kind of a sweet element. And so, lesson learned, I've added this apple topping, and it makes a huge world of difference. Firstly, we're working with a very nice potato cake here. Soft in the center, a nice crispy exterior, well seasoned with a bit of a savory nature, with some nice aromatic flavors coming from chives and onions. It's very good. Sour cream and potatoes go together very well, and it's no different here, but it's the addition of the cinnamon spiced apple topping that makes a world of difference. So much more complex in flavor, with that savory and sweet balancing against each other. This is making for a very enjoyable bite. I see that the apple topping is a must when it comes to these kind of potato cakes. A very tasty end to the entrees. That's a good one. All right, my friends, now that's all of the food I'm trying today. Just a few more bites. I'm gonna box this all up to go, and then I'll do a little bit of dessert. Don't go anywhere because sweets are coming up. And welcome back, everyone. It's time for some sweets. Let me show you what I got for dessert today. This is the sour cream coffee cake, something I've never tried before. Served warm and it looks really good. Now, I must admit, I am really full. However, there's always a little bit of room for some sweets, right? Let's activate the dessert stomach and give this a shot. Oh, that's tasty. I was not sure what to expect with the sour cream in the name, but it's not adding as much as I was initially expecting. In fact, I don't think I could make out the taste of sour cream here at all. I also don't know if I would call this a coffee cake. There's not a lot of espresso or bitter-like flavors here. In fact, this tastes kind of like a less rich pound cake. A definitive crisp to this exterior, however, an incredibly soft and cakey center. Again, as mentioned before, the flavor is very much like a less rich pound cake. A nice sweetness here, but it's not super sweet. I certainly appreciate that. And there's some chopped up toasted walnuts in here, providing an earthy flavor as well, and that's actually very good. To tell the truth, I was expecting something incredibly unique given the name, like a sour cream coffee cake, but this is relatively tame and pretty straightforward, and that's not to say it's bad. It was still quite enjoyable. A good way to round out the meal. That was nice. All right, everyone, now that's going to do it for my dinner here at Saginaw's Deli at the Circa, Las Vegas. Now, everything you saw in the video today came out to roughly $360 with tip, and I definitely had a good time. Those Reuben poppers were so good. A fun texture, really good corned beef inside, and a tasty Russian dressing. I really like that appetizer. I think the meatball sandwich was my favorite from the handheld round, but I would personally be coming back here for that meatloaf or that chicken pot pie. Those two were easily the best dishes I had today. If you're staying at Circa or you're downtown looking for some nice 24-hour eats, this is what you can expect here at Saginaw's Delicatessen. All right, everyone, now that's going to do it for this Saturday video, where I'm continuing my quest to vlog every restaurant on the Las Vegas Strip, as well as downtown on Fremont Street. Coming this Tuesday, I'm going to be vlogging from a much more local place here in the Valley. Make sure you come back for that one. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great weekend, and I hope you enjoy Vegas with me, Shin. Bye.